What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. I'm Love Coach Scott Catamas. And I'm really glad you're all watching. I want to thank all of our friends that are in the Zoom room, our loyal subscribers. And I want to say hello to all of you watching on Facebook, YouTube, and those of you watching the recording. Mushar is still in England with his mom. He'll be back in about 10 days. He's doing well. And I want to just briefly have us just all drop into our hearts for a moment, because we're talking about what I believe is the great human epidemic, shame. As a relationship coach, I've coached literally thousands of people. And almost always when we get to the hardest part of being human, the hardest experience that someone's going through, it always comes down to some form of shame, some form of I am not, fill in the blank, enough. I'm not lovable enough. I'm not wealthy enough. I'm not attractive enough. Whatever it might be. And we all have that, or almost all of us have it. And so often that we then collect evidence to support our negative belief about ourselves. Sometimes we'll tragically attract unkind people who will reinforce that. On the other hand, if we're fortunate, we attract healthy, loving community and family and friends who remind us of the divine beings that we truly are underneath any of the personality challenges or issues. We have three wonderful presenters tonight. Each one of these women I have tremendous respect for. So we're going to be hearing from Veronica Monet, who actually has the website, The Shame Free Zone. So we're going to hear from Veronica. We're going to hear from Ashlea Piefer, who is also going to lead us through a body matrix meditation. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to start things off with our friend, Hannah Bourke. Those of you who are regulars have seen Hannah on the show before. And she and I've had some deep conversations about this topic. And to a large degree, Hannah, you're what inspired me to, let's do an entire show on this. So thank you for being with us. And I'm going to turn it over to you to share your story and then perhaps a song.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. Wow, just hearing you say that felt like a hug, an embrace of honor. Welcome, everyone. So good to be here with you. My name is Hannah Bourke. I'm going to share a deeply vulnerable story of my life, and then I'll share some songs as well through the course of the night. And at the closing, a guided practice for all of us to transmute shame and other dense energies into deeper communion with love, harmony, and truth within ourselves. I first want to name that I'm a trained clairvoyant psychic. I'm really an all-clair psychic, but my training was specifically in clairvoyant psychic development. I'm a Reiki master, a devotional musician. I sing in devotion to the Divine Mother and write these love songs for her, for the earth, for our soul's awakening, that journey. And I'm an ascension guide, which was a name I spiritually received during a Kundalini awakening last year to embody the work that I do here in the world. And in this last year, I also have been spiritually initiated onto a path that the Divine Mother is showing me, called the Christos Shamanism path. For the last year, I haven't been fully ready to receive the title of this work, and it's only been more recently that I have opened myself to become willing to welcome this energy fully into my being and speak to it, as I've started to embark on training with a very powerful Andean shamanic practitioner and learn these ways to become more deeply connected to my body, to the elements of nature, and to be in service, deeper service, ever deepening service with my gifts. My story is very painful to talk about at times, and so I'm going to do this very tenderly, because growing up I did not receive the guidance or care of initiation of someone to recognize the level of sensitivity I had from a young age and teach me how to use my gifts in service to others. And I also fully trust the wisdom of my path, that my initiation into darkness and the underworld was a needed one for me to dive head first with my whole being into deep suffering, to remember how to heal myself, come into remembrance and communion with the Divine Mother, and offer my gifts and service to others and to the awakening of humanity at this time. So tonight's topic around transmuting shame into self-love is such a powerful and potent and important conversation that I am very willing to dive into. And I just want to start by dropping right into where the core of my deepest shame really took root in my life. I had just moved to Marin County. I was 12 years old, this new girl, and I felt like my life had been torn apart in this move. It was devastating to my being, and it was the beginning of when I became deeply disconnected from myself. I started to harm myself. I started to rebel against a culture that I wanted nothing to be part of. I had so many emotions in me that I felt had been invalidated, ignored, suppressed, that I had somehow internalized this message that I didn't matter, that my voice didn't matter. So why would I share my deeper truths with others? It started to eat me up from the inside out. And ultimately I had a deeply traumatic sexual experience, not a full sexual experience, but sexual energy was occurring on some level when I was 13 years old, and it was, I'll say this very gently, not done in an honoring or sacred way. The culture of youth is not initiated into any sort of, for the majority of the kids, it's a culture reflected through porn or shame-based sexuality. And so I had this experience at a very young age that I was deeply ashamed about. And the person, one of the main people who was involved with this, made up a lie to the extent of which we had shared this experience. And in my defensiveness, I spoke another lie to try to protect myself from that. And it just, all of this culminated in knotting me up inside with so much shame that a year later, when I was in 8th grade at 14 years old, I attempted to end my life for the first time. And this happened to be on Mother's Day, which I only name because I've had incredibly powerful experiences, both of light and dark, powerful soul initiations on Mother's Day throughout the course of my life, leading up to my remembrance of the Divine Mother fully. This didn't make sense to me at the time, but anyways, this was on Mother's Day. I attempted to end my own life, and in a moment of clarity, I realized I did not actually want to die. And I used super glue to stop the bleeding, and I didn't speak of that experience for several years with anyone, nobody. I kept it to myself. I was deeply ashamed. So I continued to, find my way through the world as a young person with so much inside of me that I didn't know how to connect to or even name or give voice to. And I found art as an expression that really started to help me. I started to paint and draw prolifically. Eventually I started playing guitar, and as soon as I learned a few chords on the guitar, I was writing songs. And this was just something that I loved. I loved to do it. And but I was also still deeply disconnected from myself and numbing, through certain substances. I was very interested in like altered states of consciousness, but I was doing it from a more like unconscious place, because on one hand I liked the state of consciousness, and on the other hand I was very anxious to just sit in my body, that my body was full of trauma that I didn't know how to process or move on my own. So it was deeply uncomfortable. When I first became sober, for the first time around 18 years old, I started to have full-on panic attacks. And the first panic attack happened when someone was speaking to me about sexuality, and I realized I felt like I couldn't breathe. My body flooded with heat and fire, and I started to hyperventilate, and I had no idea how much unconscious trauma I was holding in my body and in the layers of my field. So long journey, and many more layers I could reveal, but I want to really start to talk about the medicine of how I began to reconnect to my true divine nature. I had a direct revelation in communion with the light of the Divine Mother that really initiated me onto my path of remembrance. I got to a place that was so unbearably painful in my life that I made a promise to myself and to whatever the God source was, this Holy Mother of pure love, that I would do anything in my power to heal myself and to remember what I'm doing here. So I dove deep into the world of spiritual healing arts. I started practicing meditation and prayer, Reiki energy medicine, and ultimately I started to train in psychic development. And it was during this experience that I had a profound reconciliation with my sexual energy and the sacred innocence of its true nature. I will briefly touch into a very deep story before I offer a song, but I just want to name that at one point in my journey I became aware that it was time to honor myself. All of myself is sacred, and I consecrated my being and my sexual energy to sacredness, to the sacred frequency. And on the night that I did this. I went to sleep and I shot out of bed, and a shadow being or a demon, whatever you would want to call this, very dark, shadowy energy was coming out of my mouth as I awoke from my dream. And it was fighting to stay in me. And I allowed my psychic development training to kick in to high gear. And I put a rose psychically out in front of me, and I allowed that rose to magnetically draw this shadow being out of me into the rose. It was dark and it had glowing, like reddish eyes. I put it into the rose and I called down the light of Source, Holy Mother, Holy Father God, and I wrapped that column of Source light around this energy and I sent it up to the light of Source before I could even fully process what was happening. This was several years ago in 2020. And I share that story because there is power in naming the shadow of these energies and the sovereignty of our divinity to heal ourselves with the power of our Holy Spirit flowing through us. I have consecrated my gifts to serve the Most High, to serve the earth, Gaia Sophia at this time. I'm in a practice of deep listening, deep reconciliation, and service to the best of my ability. And I'm not, that story a few years ago would have been something I would have had fear around sharing publicly, but I'm giving voice to it tonight to illuminate it, because I know I'm not the only one. And I also know that this shamanic power of going into the deepest, darkest of places and bringing that light to integrate the union of our being, the light and the shadow, the totality of our divinity, is a needed medicine for us at this time. I'm going to share a song with you now that I wrote to honor my first vision and experience with the radiant light and the unconditional love of the Divine Mother. It was a deeply transformative experience in my life, and it set me on the path that I am on today. This song is called In God's Dream. Used to be depressed and disaffected. I didn't think my existence mattered much at all. And then one day my spirit vibrated higher than the body dimension. I got a little glimpse of ascension in the unified field of life. That's when I saw her face and her radiant gaze and the rays of light shining all through space. And I remembered that I'd forgotten. I didn't know. I told her as I stood there in the road, with tears falling down my eyes. She smiled at me and telepathically reminded me that my soul has a dream, and the world was waiting, oh, to be it from the mountain high. And I will tell it to Father Sky. I'll tell it from the mountain high. And I'll tell it to Father Sky. You're the web of life, divine feminine Christ, mother of all life. Sophia be thy name. You're the web of life, divine feminine Christ, mother of all life. Sophia be thy name. And oh, 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 hi, 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 and oh, 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 hi, 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 oh, to be awake and free in God's dream. Oh, to be awake and free in God's dream. And oh, 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 hi, 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 oh, 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 hi, 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 hi.
Thank you so much. Your ability to speak so vulnerably and beautifully inspires us. A couple of comments that have come in. Susan Bloomquist writes, Hannah, blessings upon your journey, dear one. We are moved by your story. Dr. Laura writes, that is so beautiful, Hannah, that you consecrated your sexuality to the sacred. Also, I loved that you used the rose to draw the negative psychic energy out of your being and then sent it to the light. It's beautiful modeling for us. And of course, lots and lots of people coming in and sharing how beautiful your song is. So beautiful. So thank you. Thank you. And we're, of course, going to bring Hannah back on in a little bit. It's my pleasure to introduce our next presenter. She's someone I've actually known for decades. We go back days. And she's had an extraordinary life. Many of you may know Veronica Monet because she's been on CNN, Fox, Bill Maher. She's spoken at all the major universities. She's an internal family systems trained relationship coach, a certified sexologist, an anger specialist, and a trained rape and domestic violence counselor. She brings a very rich array of expertise to her coaching practice. She's a filmmaker, and she was the creative consultant for the award-winning documentary with Joaquin Phoenix called Love Over Money. And her website is called theshamefreezone.com because Veronica's been doing this work for a very long time. So I think, Veronica, I'll just start by asking you, as you hear Hannah's story, what reflections come up for you?
You know, first of all, just what an ethereal song and what a gorgeous voice. That was just stunning. So thank you for that. I felt transported. um, I have met very few women who haven't had a sexual experience that felt shaming or predatory or demeaning in some way. And statistically, we know that at least 1 in 4 girls will be sexually abused before they reach the age of 18. The statistics for boys is not quite as dire, but it's about 1 in 6 to 1 in 10, depending on whose data you go with. And that's a really stunning indictment for how we are perpetrating something that we call sex, which I don't actually see as sex. I see it as a form of violence. And I'm somebody who was in the sex industry for 15 years, and I have produced and appeared in some pornography. I always considered it feminist porn. A lot of what is out there, visual images now, is pretty violent. And children are getting exposed to it by the age of 10 or 11. So it's really discouraging. One of the reasons that I founded the Shame Free Zone was because we have a culture, and it's not just here in the United States, it's not even just in Western culture, it's just a worldwide fact that we have an attitude towards sex that is incredibly degraded.
Mhm.
And I love that Hannah is devoting her sexual energy to the divine. I myself have been on a sacred sexual journey now for about 20 years. I think it probably started before that. Even when I was in the sex industry, it gradually started to become like a really big thing for me, where I was bringing those divine energies into my work. Certainly the past 20 years of my personal life, my personal sex life has just been about sacred sex. What does that look like? And I don't like to define that for everybody. I help people find their path to that. I think it's really crucial part of our being as embodied spirits. We are sexual by nature, but I also think that sexual energy is a universal reality that it goes beyond this plane of existence. I think it's a creative force, and it has the power to create bliss and connection and life. And you see it embedded in every aspect of life here on planet Earth. There would be no life without some sort of sexual reproduction. Even asexual reproduction still has this sexual energy to it. And when I think about how we talk about the origins of the universe, that in itself has a sexual component to it. I'm reminded of something that my very Christian, very conservative, very rigid mother had said to me when I was 9 years old. I had found out that there was something called an orgasm, and I said, what is an orgasm like, Mom? And her eyes got really big, and her energy got really expansive, and she says, oh, honey, it's God's way of letting us know what's waiting for us in heaven.
I love that.
I think that that's been a kind of a guiding light for me. Now I went on to live a life that my mother very much disapproved of. But I took that to my bosom. I just was like, yeah, why is it that we think of sex as being something that's separate from our spiritual life? And I'm really wanting to help bring our spirituality back into unison with our sexuality. And I have a belief, doesn't mean that it's true, but I have a belief that that was how it used to be. I feel that monotheism and patriarchy really is invested in obliterating that connection, just as there is an investment in denying us our own authentic connection to the divine, so that we're supposed to have these intermediaries, whether it's a book or some kind of a spiritual leader who tells us what our path should be. And we are not allowed to form our own connection. And from a very early age, almost all of us at the very beginning, something Hannah said, she forgot. We all forget. We forget so much. We come here knowing something about who we were before we got here, and about how beautiful we are and how perfect we are and how connected everything is. And then the way that we're taught and the way that we're raised and the way that we're socialized and the forces that we're exposed to cause us to forget.
Mm.
And we forget who we really are, and we forget what we already knew. I always think it's kind of strange how adult human beings have such a hard time telling when somebody has ill intent, because it's something that my dog never was confused about. But it's like animals know, they sense energy, and we can too. We can sense our own energies and the energies of each other. And there's a way in which we have a moral compass inside of us. We arrived with it. But then these other forces come in to tell us that things that we know are right are wrong, and things that we know are wrong are right. And certainly I was raised by a cult, a religious cult that I was born into, and two very damaged parents who tried to tell me that the abuse that was going on in our home was God ordained.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, they didn't go so far as to say that the sexual abuse was God ordained, but certainly the husband's physical abuse of his wife was God ordained. I read the Bible from cover to cover when I was 12 years old, and I was very devout. I wanted to have a spiritual awakening, and I thought, I'll read the Bible and then I'll feel closer to God and God's spirit will come into me. And that's not what happened. I actually felt like vomiting and I couldn't understand why. And I thought, oh, there must be something wrong with me. It took years for me to realize, no, there was something wrong with the message. The Old Testament Bible's got so much shame in it, so much violence. And I don't want to trample on anybody's beliefs, but most people will say, even people who really believe in the Bible and find that there's things in it that they enjoy or find value in, that there are portions of it that they don't take literally, like, how to kill and sacrifice and take slaves. That's all in there. And I don't think it was any mistake that I felt nauseous when I finished the book. There was a lot of messages around shaming women's sexuality. I was really taught a lot of shame and had it foisted upon me, and a lot of shaming of the female body and female function. So even our periods become like a source of shame. And I really think that that is one of the reasons that I founded the Shame Free Zone, is just because I was shamed so heavily for every thought and every feeling. And the parts of me that were very, very angry about the abuse that was going on in our home. I was shamed for being angry about it, for saying no to abuse. And certainly I went on as an adult to get into adult relationships where a man would be perpetrating abuse towards me and would shame me for objecting to that abuse. I think that shame is something that has been used over millennia to control us. And I've gotten into arguments with other people about whether or not there's healthy shame or unhealthy shame. And I'm kind of more from the Brené Brown camp, which is no, I think all shame is unhealthy. I don't think it's natural. I think that there's a distinction between guilt and shame. If I do something that's against my moral code, my value system, I feel guilty. I feel guilty about what I did, not who I am. And that's really where I feel once I get clear on the fact that I get to take responsibility for my actions, I get to make amends for my misdeeds, I get to be accountable. And if I know that that's who I am, I don't have any use for shame. I have no use for it whatsoever. And I think it's a very destructive force because shame is always about you, like there's something defective about you. And there's not. We've all done some things we're not happy about. I've perpetrated some things that I've felt guilty about. I got help to change those patterns. I stopped doing those things. And I feel good about me. That's what I want for all of us, to feel good about us. And that doesn't mean we have to feel good about everything that we've done. But a lot of us are carrying around shame because of something that was done to us. And that's just wrong. I'm kind of going on a rant here, Scott. I think I should make some room for your questions.
You know, I'm reminded of what a beautiful, beautiful speaker you are.
Mhm.
You know, I just so appreciate your experience and your, as you express yourself, you know, you weave your own personal experiences, your observations in support of others. I know you've coached a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your humility, you know, because I also don't think that there's such a thing as healthy shame. I'm a strong believer that the meaning of life, we're here to learn to love, starting with ourselves. And I've never seen a way that a person experiencing shame is loving themselves or loving anybody. It's not an act of love to feel shame. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I think it's the great human epidemic that keeps people down. And we've observed how many religions and how many cultures have used shame to dominate people and to keep people small. And hopefully this awakening world that we're all a part of, this new paradigm that we're all playing a role in creating, is going to be one big shame-free zone.
I hope so. Scott, one of the things that I really think is an important thing for us to bring to this conversation of shame is that it actually fosters the very things that we don't want. Shame is what drives most of the crime. It's what drives sexual perpetrations. It's what drives harming of other human beings. I think shame is even what drives the materialism that's destroying our planet. If people actually feel good about themselves, if they love themselves, there's just things they cannot do.
You're absolutely right. You know, the people I know that make the greatest contributions to the world are people that have soon healthy self-esteem. And the more that we feel good about ourselves, the more we want to give to others, the more we want to give from the overflow. And my mentor, Marshall Rosenberg, two quotes from Marshall. One is that self-love is never selfish.
No.
When you love yourself, you want to give to others. And then the other quote that goes along with that is that the greatest joy in life is being of service to others. And so when we feel good about ourselves, we want to be of service to others. The people that we see that are causing harm in the world, or the people that are there's an empty hole, and so no matter how much comes through, it just goes right out. It's like a big pot with a big plant and a hole, and it can't maintain the water.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times like people who hurt people, right?
That's right.
And that oftentimes comes out of shame because somebody made them feel small. They've taken that on, and the only way that they know how to feel better about themselves is to hurt somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And certainly I've seen that to be the case in myself. I see a lot of powerful people doing that right now, hurting other people because they do not actually feel good about themselves.
Connie just asked, it would be nice to hear a man speak of his shame experience, and I'll do that. Speak to these different shames that I've dealt with and deal with, but I'm going to speak to the collective shame of being a white man.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of shame for, as a white man, what a terrible job we've done of running the planet, running governments, and currently the incredible backsliding of white Christian nationalism. Jackie Robinson exhibits being taken down, right? It's such a huge, gigantic steps backwards.
Yeah.
And as a white privileged man, I feel shame. I feel shame that my brother, that I am part of a brotherhood that has such terrible choices for thousands of years, and that some of my brothers are still making those choices. So that's a shame that I deal with.
Yeah. Could I, first of all, thank you for the courage to share that. Would it be all right if I spoke to that a little bit?
I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about the fact that most of my DNA is English and Swiss. And certainly that points to some of the settlers that came to this turtle island and engaged in genocide. And I could feel shame for what my ancestors did. And there's probably some people that would like me to. I think that's a destructive force. I'm much more drawn to feeling compassion and empathy and righteous rage. Like if I can see that that was horrible, and then also what kind of reparations and accountability can I do?
Mhm.
Like, can I give back? Is there something I can contribute? The land that I'm sitting on right now, I consider Nisenan land. And, everybody has to do what they have to do, but I don't have any children, no natural children. I had stepchildren that I helped to raise. But so it's, for me, it's like, well, then I want to give this land back. And if each of us can like find what is it that I can do that rights the wrong. We're each just one person, right? So we can't like right all the wrongs, but some way in which we can make a meaningful contribution and let go of the shame, because shame is it's immobilizing.
Mhm.
It doesn't allow us to move energy, right? It's contracted, and in some ways shame is pretty self-referential.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think about how if I have really low self-esteem, it is a form of ego, right? Because I'm the worst. I win because I'm the worst. Yeah. So I think, from what I know about your life, you have worked really hard to put positive things into the world. And I think each of us can look for ways that we can put positive things into the world. And if there is a specific issue, like for myself, this is painful to share, but my father had a thing for killing animals. This was
Ooh.
part of how he terrorized us as children, and how he felt powerful. So here's an example of shame that he felt. He felt ashamed that he was sentimental as a little boy, and somebody shamed him for being attached to a dog that died. And so then he took that shame and turned it into um, violence towards animals.
Mm.
This was how he coped. And I was not born that way at all. He wasn't born that way either. But I was his child and I loved animals. I relate to them so easily, so naturally. But at some point when I was a teenager, he had yelled at me so much about not wanting me to be sentimental about animals that I participated in some of his violence.
Oh.
And when I did that, I I wounded. There were ways in which I felt like I killed a part of myself. But I realize now that that part never died. I wounded it. I wounded it deeply.
Mm.
And so I I have lived my life in amends to that. It was one instance, but it was a really potent one for me. And it's really important to me that I make that amends. It's an ongoing living amends that I make. I've donated time to shelters. I have donated money to rescue organizations. And I have learned a different relationship with animals. For 25 years, I lived with dogs, and they were my partners. And I feel so blessed that they came into my life to give
Mm.
me the opportunity to make that amends and to see them as my equals. So I have learned so much from animals that brought me grace and forgiveness. And I just think that that's how I am able to look in the mirror, to know things that I have done, and to look in the mirror and love who I see there. And part of it, Scott, was because of man who used to abuse me. He was my husband. He got well. He got help. He learned how to stop being abusive. But I still had some of that violence in me, and I did not have any avenues for help to stop being that person. So we were divorced, and I asked him to help me. And one of the things that he taught me was that when I did my violence, I had to love myself. If I could not love myself, if I could not bring that love to me, I was going to do it again. Because it's self-hatred that drives the behaviors we feel ashamed of.
Mm.
And that's why I don't think we're doing anybody any good when we go into the shame. Feel guilty, take an action, make it right, make amends, be accountable, clean up your act, know what your bright lines are. If you're going to start moving in that direction, you need to write your course. I don't know if anything I said was helpful to your situation.
I think everything you're saying is, we're all learning together tonight. We're all sharing together. And I'm going to read a couple of comments that have come in.
Yeah.
And then we're going to hear from Ashlea.
Okay.
Dr. Laura writes, please remember, everyone, we have all been white, black, red, and yellow in many, many past lives. We've all been perpetrators, victims. We're all humans, emanations of the divine. At some point, we will all give up on the victimhood and the outward projection of our traumas. I pray that that time is coming now. And Kath writes, this shame is generational. My mother was abused by her father. I'm a child of an inappropriate relationship with older men when she was 19. I just found out 7 years ago. I was called a liar. I know it's my mom's shame. I'm her dirty secret. The little red-headed stepchild. I'm now estranged from them. It's okay. I've grown so much spiritually the past 6 years with the help of people and programs like this. So thank you, Veronica.
Yeah.
And, I want to address that for a moment. And then I'd love to hear what you have to say, and then we'll bring up Ashlea. I have a strong belief that part of our life is that we all have ancestors that made extraordinary sacrifices for us to have the freedom and abundance that we enjoy. They crossed the plains, they fought in the wars, they worked 3 jobs, and many of them sacrificed hugely with one dream, a better life for their offspring. And that's us. We have that better life.
Yeah.
But they were in survival, and they didn't have the time, the money, the tools to deal with alcoholism, their low self-esteem, their domestic violence. So like Kath says, it's generational. And, we now know that before we're even born, we receive a genetic download of the ancestral history and the trauma of our ancestors going back 7 generations. That's about
7.
140 people. So
Yep.
every one of those people, they've been raped, they've been murdered, they've done terrible things. And we carry that with us. But the freedom that we have, with the abundance that we have, now is our time to pay it back by really resolving the alcoholism, dealing with whatever the generational trauma is, whatever the ancestral trauma is. For you, the ancestral thing of violence. And you had to experience the part of you that could be violent, and the greater angel within you that was like, no, violence stops here. Alcoholism stops here. Abuse stops here.
Yes. And I want to add to that something that one of our viewers said about dropping victim and perpetrator. I am in the process of birthing a paradigm where we drop the label of perpetrator victim. I qualify as both labels. I do not think that the labels help us. I think what's helpful is to say, victimization, perpetration. We're looking at action. If we can get our focus back on actions, we can address the actions, we can address the behaviors, and stop trying to put people in categories. Because, I mean, one of the, as somebody who learned a lot about domestic violence, a domestic violence counselor, I got to tell you, a pretty discouraging statistic. Like 70% of the women who are battered and wind up in domestic violence shelters hit their kids.
Oh,
So there's not innocence. What there is we can transform ourselves. We can transform the burdens that we are given. We call them legacy burdens in IFS, which is the trauma that's being handed down from generation to generation. And we can do that by forgiving, but it can't be the kind of spiritual bypass forgiveness that we've been taught. It has to be the kind of forgiveness that is rooted in righteous rage about how egregious these behaviors are. I do not water down anything bad that I've done. I don't excuse it. I don't minimize it. I attach the correct labels to it. And I feel good. I feel good because I'm in my integrity. And I look back at the things that my father did and that my mother did, and that the relatives before them, both of my parents were incest survivors. I feel so much compassion for them. They were born in a time, to your point, Scott, where there was no words for what they had survived, and there certainly was no therapy. I got involved in a rape and domestic violence shelter in 1982. We were bringing the word incest to the public for the first time. So that's a lot of privilege that I have, that I've had access to therapy and to new thought. And the last words I said to my dad, and he was an incredibly abusive, damaged human being. I told him I loved him, and he started to cry, and he says, I love you too. I want that for all of us, not because we're just going to forgive people and let them continue to abuse or perpetrate, but because every single one of us can get well. And the only way that we can get well is if we're willing to be accountable, to get help. And I'm somebody who got a lot of help. And that's what I'm trying to share with the world. Help.
Thank you for paying it forward. Thank you for getting, you received help and you're continuing to give it back.
Yeah.
Beautiful conversation. There's going to be more. We're going to have a chance for some Q&A with Veronica and Hannah, but I want to bring up Ashlea. Veronica, thank you so much for your wisdom, and we'll be back with you in a few minutes. I am going to read a few comments. Eleanor Joy writes, I'm in tears hearing these stories and healings. Kath writes, yes, do the work. Dr. Laura writes, I like that term, legacy burdens. Kath writes, yes, we are taking our power back. When you know better, you do better. Courtney, I'm not going to read your entire comment, but it's all beautiful. But I'll read a little bit of it. She writes, healthy accountability invites reflection and responsibility. How can I learn from this? Shame, on the other hand, whispers, you're the mistake. That's the difference between being liberated and being manipulated. One aids in evolving, the other keeps you obedient. Beautiful.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Isn't that? She also wrote, shame is a leash disguised as moral guidance. It doesn't teach, it tames. When someone uses shame as a tool, the goal isn't growth or understanding, it's compliance. It's a psychological control mechanism that keeps people small, self-censoring, and afraid to explore or make mistakes. Beautiful, Courtney. Thank you.
Please write a book.
Right? Yeah. Well, it's my honor to bring up our other presenter tonight. Thank you for your patience, Ashlea. Ashlea has been on the show a couple of times, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you. She's a pretty extraordinary person. She's had a fascinating life. She's all about guiding the awakened and psychically curious through multi-dimensional embodiment and spiritual mastery. Ashlea offers one-on-one readings and coaching for deeper transformation, and I'm going to put into the chat box, and we'll take a look at all of your websites later on in the evening. But Ashlea, what would you like to share in the conversation tonight?
Oh boy. I mean, there's been so much amazing information shared. Both of them are. It's going to be hard. In regards to shame, so my area of expertise is multidimensionality, understanding the body as a vehicle for your soul, light, spirit. Something that stuck out when Hannah spoke, she consecrated. And that's what we do in the body matrix. You shift your systems. So there's a connection link made through your intent, your participation with your higher self, where you get to choose to shift those systems. The energetic configuration you incarnated into that holds information, what if you could change that without having to live through those lessons that are coded within you? I believe you can. I believe I've done it, and I've helped others do it. And that's why I created the body matrix. Shame is systemic. And what I mean by that is when we have shame, whether accumulated through our own life experiences or passed down to us through our genetics, it's part of a larger system that seeks to use your life and light force, what resides within you, what animates you, and then creates reflections and refractions from the holographic nature of the human body. So today we're going to do a meditation, a short body matrix meditation, and we're going to focus on the spine. What I've noticed and what I've witnessed is that the spine is an area that can experience a lot of challenges when we hold on to shame, whether our own or we're incarnated into it. So if that's all right, I'd like to lead us through a meditation. Take a moment, take a breath. Start to feel your body.
Battery 100%. Connected to Ashlea.
So we meditate to reclaim, command, and consecrate the information and instruction sets within and around you. It's so much more than stillness. It's awareness of yourself in space and time. So notice your body as I speak. Top of the head, bottom of the feet, front of the body, back of the body. 360-degree awareness of where you are in space and time. Your breath is a tool. As you inhale, notice the shoulders, front of the chest, entire spine, and then the base, where your spine meets your hips. Just feel your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Introduce yourself to the nervous system. That nervous system communicates with your organs, speaking to the outside world. The nervous system also receives information from the outside world and speaks to your organs. So wiggle those fingers and toes, feel your body in its entirety. This is a beautiful gift that you give to yourself, the gift of presence, awareness, acceptance of where you are, how you are. When I mentioned that shame is systemic, when we are coded with information from our ancestors, there's a certain frequency. And there are things resting here and now in this moment.
Yeah, for some reason, we're having an internet issue with you. Your internet's coming in and out, mostly out. And in fact, actually, you're now frozen. So it's showing me that your internet connection has gotten really, really poor right now. And so you kind of are breaking up and you're frozen, unfortunately. And what you're sharing is so beautiful. If you can hear me, what I would suggest is see if you can close your other programs, and we'll come back to you. But while we're in this really tender,
Is that any better?
well, let's see for a moment. Let me go back and spotlight on you.
Test.
Yeah, now it's gone to yellow. It was in the red, so now it's to yellow. So let's give it a go. Just close any other programs you might be running, please.
Okay. All right. So we're tuning into the body. The body matrix, it's a frequency. So what I do is I generate frequencies, I connect with the collective, and it impacts everyone who's here and everyone who might listen later. So if you choose to participate, you consent to the healing. Take a breath, notice your body in its entirety, front to back, top to bottom, side to side. Notice your spine. As you breathe, using breath as your tool, we're going to set the intention now to sing our heart tone to the highest of the high, the holiest of the holy, your source point, your creator. Breathing deeply, notice your body as the breath fills the lungs. Notice where you are, clothing on the skin, taste in your mouth, anything you may feel or sense energetically. So we are fully present in the body. As you notice your breath, as you notice your body, we bring special focus onto the spinal column, setting the intention now to listen to the calling and guidance of our higher self, to release old ways of thinking and doing, and to free ourselves from the stories that once defined us. the stories that have been written into ourselves. Maintain focus on the spine. Notice the front of your hips, sexual organs. We claim, command, and consecrate all systems, layers, and levels of our being, and the entirety of our isness, in service to the Most High. We forgive ourselves, and we forgive others. And as I say that, notice my voice, notice where you are. I forgive myself, and I forgive others. See how that feels in your body. Did anything come up for you? Any thoughts? Any images? Any remembrance? Breathe into it. Feel into your body. And notice that subtle sensation that animates you. Without judgment, we're in observation of what is and how we are. What comes to your consciousness will show you where you've liberated yourself or limited yourself. And it is through your will and your way that you release. Taking a deep breath in, notice your hips and then your jawline. Some of you may want to sit still. Some of you may actually want to move, stretching your body gently, uncovering the hidden areas, the blind spots, where density may reside. Breath is your tool. Notice what you feel. Subtle field of energy around you, 360 degrees. Top of the head, bottom of the feet, front to back, inner to outer. Now is an opportunity to claim your I am presence. Breath as your tool. I am safe. I am loved. I am healed. See if you can allow those words to pixelate through your body, the space within the skin. Safe. Love. Healed. Hold that frequency. Notice your skin. Breath as your tool. The space within you. Fill that with your awareness. This is how you collapse space and time. This is how you reclaim all those parts of you that you left in different places and spaces and times. The memory fragments. It is presence. Deep breath in. This is your claim, your command, and your consecration. All systems of the body. Aware of that spine, bottom of the spine, top of the spine, jawline, hip bones, and pelvic floor. I am safe. loved, healed. Breathe that in and notice your bones. How your bones have positioned you in space and time. The soft tissue, the skin, the subtle field of energy around you. Breath as your tool. Left to right, top to bottom, inner to outer. I am present. You just hold that frequency. Let that pixelate through every cell in your body. When we experience these happenings in our life that create shame, there's an underlying pattern. There's a innate GPS that leads us into that. For some reason, the human doesn't eradicate those things as we evolve. But this is a new stage of evolution. What if you could? Why not you? How good could it get? We're going to let go of all the stories because you know you're part of something so much bigger. So much grander. And if you could watch yourself and observe the magnificence that you are as a human being, you would celebrate every experience because it means you're alive. Feel the life that runs through you. Notice that you're here. You can feel the temperature of the air. You can taste. You can see. Coming fully into the body. Present. If you feel inspired to share how you're feeling, you may type that into the chat. This is the Body Matrix Meditations. I offer these every Wednesday at noon EST. Come join me. Every week we focus on a different shift, perfecting our frequencies.
Go to gallery view and let's send Ashlea some twinkles and some love and some appreciation.
And I'm going to send it right back.
Oh, well, okay. Make sure you receive some of it, though.
I will not deny my abundance. Give me all the love. I'll take it. But you guys are amazing. I mean, this community, you show up, you do the work, you have the hard conversations. You're on the forefront of a new world. And I'm lucky enough to come in when I came in, and to tune into that new world where we're no longer defined by the old stories. It's a whole new way of being. And I want you guys to know that it's there, it's possible.
Thank you. And I'm gonna go to your website. It's her name, Ashlea, Ashlea Piefer, Piefer.com. And I've participated in some of her weekly meditations. They're beautiful. And there's all sorts of different options here, wonderful things that you can get from Ashlea. So definitely go to her website. And a reminder, she does do individual counseling as well. Excuse me.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I'm very tuned in to the galactics. So if that's something that you feel curious about, I can definitely help you navigate that. And if you're coming into sensitivities, abilities of your own that you feel challenging, that's another area that I'm very helpful in. So.
And she's going to be back with us in a moment when we do our Q&A. But we're going to roll right from this beautiful energy that we're in to our prayer time. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to bring up Tiara and Desiree. And you're both welcome to share anything you wish to share about the topic tonight. And then, of course, lead our evening prayer.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. Like, that has been so beautiful. And thank you so much for everything that you've shared, the vulnerability that you shared, the wisdom that you've shared. I appreciate it so much. All right, so we're going to start out by taking a nice big breath in through our nose, out through our mouth. Ushakapaki tagarasore tagarasiro rake tagarasi tagaratagasore tagasi tagarasore gate tagaratagatia. We come together today as we raise our vibration. We have heard your voices. And we help release some of that shame to raise the vibration around us. Ushakapaki dagarasira gorasira garatira gesuro garatira garasira garatea to guru tigaratigaratiraka. Shed that skin that we no longer need. Oshagabaki da Sarai to Shagare Tagaraga Oshagrake Tagarasiru Sagatagi Saraka Siragaratatia Oshagrabaki Tagarata Siruga Siragatia Tagarasura. The light workers raised Gurutagarasia Karashuruge Siragaratia with love. As we ground in the energy that we no longer need. We go deep within with a new vision of gratitude as we raise. Raise above the shame as we fly with freedom to the heavens. Thank you.
And continuing this beautiful integration, balancing our divine celestial natures with our human nature, tending to the tenderness in this conversation, just reinforcing to our little ones inside each and every one of us that we are loved, that we are heard, that we matter. And just allowing this gentle healing to continue. And as has been said tonight, we know we are so much more than the bodies we inhabit now. We know that life is so much more than we can even imagine. And as we rise up from the pain, the trials, the tribulations of being human into our divine selves, calling on our ancestors here and there, opening the way for more understanding, more expansion, and getting ready to allow this expansion in our conversation tonight, embracing all those here from the other side to assist us tonight in this collective healing. In gratitude. And so it is.
Thank you for a moment. Thank you so much, Diara and Desiree, every week for the high vibration that you bring to our Global Peace Tribe. Thank you very, very much. I have one significant announcement. A reminder that this Friday night, we're going to have a special event. For those of you in Northern California, please join us live at the Sunrise Center. We're going to be doing a very special evening all about near-death experiences. And for those of us who can't be there in person, it's going to be available on Zoom. And the gentleman who is made this wonderful movie, most of you were with us on Saturday night when we showed the trailer, is with us tonight. So I'm going to bring up Dan Drayson. Welcome, Dan. Thanks for being back again on the Awakening World tonight. And please tell us a little bit about what to expect on Friday night.
Wow. Well, this is a bit of a shift from the wonderful, deep, inner feminine energy that we have been bathed in all evening. So to shift gears a bit, just a little bit about myself. I've been a media producer and writer and filmmaker most of my life. About 30 years ago, I became intrigued with afterlife studies of all kinds. And it's part of a general recognition on my part of how limited our sense of reality is here in this physical level, and how shallow it is in a way. And I think for myself, and I think for many folks, the most accessible influence for us in terms of connecting with the greater reality can be connections with those loved ones of ours who have passed. And so many of us who have had that experience of loved ones passing have sensed a connection with them in one way or another. And that their presence has sort of magnetically influenced us to become on some level more aware of the greater reality. So back to my own path, about 30 years ago, I became particularly interested in afterlife communication as a path. And it really started when I met a fellow named Mark Macy in Boulder, Colorado, who had been researching and practicing instrumental transcommunication for years. This is something that was new to me. I was actually kind of suspicious of it at first, but I soon became aware of its history, met practitioners, did a lot of investigation into this. And simply, it was the practice of communicating with folks on the other side through modern electronics. This has been going on since the 1950s, when tape recorders first became consumer items, and people started hearing voices on their tapes that shouldn't be there. Initially, these things were sort of dismissed as well. Maybe the machine's picking up a radio broadcast radio station, and it was sort of this thing that kind of existed in the background for a while. No one paid a huge amount of attention to it until some investigators in Europe really locked onto this and said, "Wait a minute, there's something's going on here, and we have to be scientific about it, not to dismiss it. And so this gave rise to decades of experimentation and refinement, and in addition to the scientists who first started working with this, ordinary folks with their little cassette recorders and other personal electronics became involved in communicating with their loved ones on the other side through these very simple technical devices. And roundabout shortly after the year 2000, I teamed up with a co-producer, Tim Coleman. We traveled around across the United States to several European countries and documented, among other things, this practice of instrumental transcommunication is the blanket term. It's most often known as EVP, the electronic voice phenomenon. It's not limited to voice. There are pictures and text messages and every form of communication. But the most common is what's known as the electronic voice phenomenon. And that's mostly what this film is about. The film is called Calling Earth. It's a 90-minute film. We'll be showing it at the Sunrise Center this Friday evening. We may take a break at a certain point. It's a long film. We may take a break at about an hour and have an interim Q&A and then go back to complete it. And not sure what else to say about it. I could play the trailer if that works for you, Scott.
You know, we showed the trailer on Saturday night, and I have it right here, but honestly, we're running a little bit late tonight. But you know, most of our people in the audience today has already seen it on Saturday night, but it's fascinating. It's really, really a fascinating and well-made movie. And so the easiest way, I've put the direct link into the chat box, but if anybody watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you want to join us on Friday night, go to sunrisecenter.org, sunrisecenter.org, and then click events, upcoming events. And the very first event that comes up is this one that Dan is going to be doing on Friday night, which I'm going to help him with a little bit. Can we communicate with the other side through electronics? And then just click buy tickets. It's only $5 to be part of the Zoom broadcast. And we will definitely have a quality conversation with Dan. So please do join us Friday night, 7 o'clock. And I also will send out an email to our entire email list, letting them know about it and giving the links and all of that. And we hope to see you on Friday night. Yes, Dan. Yeah.
And just as a bonus, one of the things that I'm going to also show on Friday evening is a website that I've created with two of the most remarkable mediums I have ever encountered. And if you want to preview, anyone can go to cosmicvoices.network. Cosmic Voices, one word, .network. It's not .net, it's .network. So just go there and explore.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dan. Enjoy the rest of the show. We've got a little bit left, and I will, of course, be with you on Friday.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott.
And again, that's Cosmic Voices Network. I'm going to bring up our presenters. I'm going to read a few comments. Caught you right in the middle of a gulp there, Ashlea. I'm going to read a few of the comments, and then if any of you have questions, now's a good time. But I'm going to read some comments. Ashlea, I think maybe if you could turn your music off.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize.
It's beautiful, but I want to be able to hear what people have to say. Susan Bloomquist writes, my journey with shame was that I was so often shamed by people so that I would obey. I simply served and ignored their opinions. I had the advantage of freedom of movement and nature, thank goodness. Kath, by the way, in reference to what we just saw, writes, my NDE, my near-death experience, changed my life incredibly 6 years ago. Tiara writes, thank you, Daniel, for bringing this to the mainstream. Kath just bought her ticket. Thank you very much. And, you know, here's a question. I'm going to put it out. You can contemplate it for a moment, but I want to read a couple more comments before you answer the question. It's from Dr. Laura. Are you seeing more wispy, dim lights or light smoke out of the corner of your eyes throughout the days? This phenomena has really increased for me recently. How about you? That's very specific. Carol Craig, by the way, Dan writes, also my NDE changed me profoundly. I can't communicate with the other side, but I'm 100% certain that some people are able to access the energy of those who have passed. And George Noble wrote a beautiful comment about his being shamed because of his communication challenges. It was a really, really beautiful what you wrote, and I really appreciate all the people who responded to George. Basically said I've been ridiculed for being different, speaking differently, related to my hearing challenges. I've been called names, mocked. This was during college, even though he was National Honor Society class VP. So thank you, George, for being with us and sharing how you've overcome shame. And if any of you have had an experience similar to what Dr. Nora is asking about, I guess I'll open it up with that, and then I've got a question for all three of you. But has anybody been seeing smoke through the sides of your eyes? Is that
Not smoke, but I've definitely seen an increase in activity within and around myself. So it could be how our consciousness is interpreting, the fluctuation of energies or essences that might come into our environment. I've been noticing an increase, and I live in the Midwest of Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's a question for all three of you. What's a tool, a practical tool for overcoming shame? When somebody has I weigh too much, or I'm not pretty enough, or I don't make enough money, what's a way to get out of that pit of shame?
Yeah, I'll start. I will bring an internal family systems therapy tool to the conversation. So if we think about ourselves as being comprised of sub-personalities, you just kind of like, we're very, very complex. We're composed of a lot of DNA. Most of it actually is a microbiome. So we're kind of a walking, breathing community. And in a similar way, we have sub-personalities. If you've seen the Disney movie about Inside Out, it kind of brings that to the fore in a really approachable, fun way. But getting to know the different parts, what are their motivations? What is the part, like I'm working with a part that was shamed around seeing the abuse. Like I wasn't supposed to see it and call it what it was. And the exercise is to go towards the part that feels shame and find out about it. So I have to bring it curiosity and compassion. I cannot come towards it in a way of trying to tell it, go away, or stop that, or, get lost. It's more, that's a part of me that I took on because I was shamed as a child. So if I turn towards it with compassion and curiosity, I'm coming from my higher self. And my higher self has this beautiful wisdom. It's ancient, it's connected to the divine. And I don't coach my clients towards my solutions for them. I coach them towards their solutions by getting them in contact with their higher self, which has all the answers. So higher self has wonderful features like clarity and compassion and creativity and connection and courage. And I want to bring particularly the curiosity and compassion to the part that is feeling shame. It is doing that to protect me. And that's a hard one for us when we find that there's some part of us that's thinking, feeling, or doing something that we don't like that makes us feel sad or bad. We want to dissociate ourselves from it. And that part actually needs our love. It needs understanding. My parts internalized the shame to keep me safe. Had I, as a young child, thought that the people that were shaming me were wrong about shaming me, I would have seen what an unsafe situation I was in. So I created safety as a child by taking it on and saying, yeah, I'm bad.
Mhm.
And now it's about going back and finding that part and getting to understand what's motivating it, why it still thinks it needs to do this, and then helping it understand that I actually can free it. I can pull it out of that. And I can do that by assuring it that I am safe now, that it's safe to stop doing that. So there's many other tools, but that's the one I want to offer right now, is just go towards the part with love, find out why it's doing what it's doing, and it will start to relax and give you some space, give you some freedom from it.
Beautiful. Love that. Just today, I was working with a client on his subpersonalities, and it's so important for us to identify the different parts of ourselves, give it names, love, and love all of our subpersonalities the way that a loving mother or father would love all of their children.
Yeah.
And like children, we don't let our subpersonalities run the show. We give them voice.
Yeah.
We listen to what they have to say. We take into consideration. We acknowledge their feelings and their needs. We let the wise, centered part of ourself be the guiding force, to be the parent, if you will.
And Scott, I found that when those parts find out that you actually have a wise parent inside, they're very happy to stop doing all that work.
Yeah. Well, usually a subpersonality that's not being heard will then act out. Just like a child that wants to be heard, that wants to be understood, will act out because they're desperate to be heard. So we need to be able to listen.
Yeah, and a lot of them are still stuck in the past, and they think that they're the only thing between you and disaster.
Right. Thank you. Hannah or Ashlea, do either of you want to address this? Hannah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Veronica, for what you have brought forth this evening, Ashlea, as well. Deeply moved, and I just want to speak to that. Getting really curious about, and innocent around what is arising for us as we transmute these layers. I'm going to go deeper into this guided practice and process with us in a little bit, but for now I just want to speak to how these layers of shame and other dense emotional imprints can surface or be, triggered, come up, and speak from personal experience from a moment around the work that I've done to create safety in myself through love and consciousness, to go within, to have the awareness. Whereas before I had that awareness, shame would close me up or cave me in on myself. It was very uncomfortable. And today I can feel in my body, in my bones, in my being, what is arising, and I tune in to it now. I tune into it. I name what I'm feeling. I name that I'm feeling shame in this moment. And then using my inner telepathy, I ask, what purpose has this served in my life up to this point? What is this doing here for me from this place of inner wisdom? And when I receive that answer, it comes from a deeper place inside of myself. And I invoke the light of my higher self, which we're going to do together in this process. Invoke the light of my higher self to support me in transmuting this layer that has presenced itself for transmutation. And so I invoke the light of my higher self to dissolve this layer of shame in my body, in my light body, this pattern through love, through deeper harmony, and through truth. And I sit and I let myself do this breathing practice and alchemize the energy today. And this has allowed my body to open, to really have a deep sense of trust in my ability to hold myself safely through whatever comes up. When, growing up, I didn't have that same level of safety in my environment. I definitely didn't feel very safe in my body or in this world. So that's been a relationship I've developed gradually over time.
Mm. You know, I think this actually would be a good time to just go ahead and roll into your practice, your process, Hannah.
Yeah, let's do that together. So I first just want to invite everybody to really drop into your body and feel your bones. Feel your heart. Feel your blood. And I'm just going to invoke a prayer for the divine love of the Holy Mother, Holy Father, Gaia, Pachamama, to hold us in this field of God love energy through all space and time, through all dimensions of reality. So we can allow our higher selves to guide each of us through this process together. So I'm going to first invite us to practice the breath before we go into the actual process. This is a somatic breathing technique that will inhale and exhale all through the mouth. And on the exhale, I invite you to create that very gentle vibratory exhale and see if you can feel that subtle vibration without any forcing or pushing. Just go ahead and practice inhaling and exhaling through the mouth with an audible vibratory exhale. Feel that gentle hum of vibration in your chest and your throat. This is a practice I call transformational alchemy. And then you are invited to drop in with this practice as often as you need to moving forward. So one more cycle of the breath to practice. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale gently. I invite you now to tune into your body and into the fullness of your being. And see if you can notice any place in your body that feels contracted or tense. On some level, maybe you feel some guilt or some shame, or maybe it's just a feeling of something that feels tight and held tightly in your being. And whatever it is, trust where you are sensing to connect into in your being right now. And I invite you with your inner wisdom to tune into that area within yourself now. And I'm going to invite you to name for yourself an emotional or energetic quality that you sense held there in this moment. I invite you to trust what you sense. And through your inner wisdom and inner telepathy, I invite you now to attune to that area in your being and ask, vibrationally ask with telepathy, that area, what wisdom or purpose have you served in my life up to this point? And I'm going to invite you now to begin the cycle of breath in and out through the mouth with a vibrational exhale. Staying softly focused on that area. And I'm going to invite you now to internally invoke your higher self by vibrating the intention and words. I now invoke the light of my higher self to dissolve and transmute this layer of dense emotional energy, this pattern within my being now. Continuing to breathe the breath as you invoke the light of your higher self to transmute this energy into deeper love. And feel yourself using this breath to bring the frequency of love into this area in your body, in your being. Allowing the light of your higher self to transmute this area, staying softly with yourself through the breath. Inviting the frequency of harmony to commune in this area now. Drawing that light of your higher self, trusting yourself to bring the energy of truth and wisdom to the center within you now. And I invite you to attune to the fullness and wholeness of your being. And notice if you can perceive a subtle shift. Trust your experience, trust the wisdom within you. Oftentimes these layers of emotions, they can surface in layers at a time. So know that a layer was transmuted tonight to the best of your ability, and this practice is here for you whenever you want to deepen in to inner communion and transformational alchemy for yourself, to connect to the places that may still be holding on to emotions and energies from the past, and allow yourself to invoke your higher self to facilitate transformation through love to these areas, gradually and in ever increasing measure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. I want to let people know a little bit how you can get in touch with Hannah and learn more about her offerings. Her website is also her name, Hannah, Hannah, Bourke, Bourke. Hannah Bourke, but it's spelled Bourke. And that's where you can learn about her wonderful offerings. She provides Reiki, psychic soul alchemy readings, also does group work, really honoring the divine feminine. She's a beautiful musical artist, as we've already heard, and we're going to close the show with a song from her. But before we do that, I want to make a couple more announcements. I want to let people know how you can get a hold of Veronica. I'll bring her up as well. And Veronica's website is theshamefreezone.com. And she has a lot on her website. You can learn about her services and what's the free gift that you have here, Veronica?
It's called the Exquisite Partnership Formula. It's meant for relationships, particularly couples, but I work with poly people too, so it really doesn't matter how you partner. How to take the perfect time out. A game that my partner John and I developed called Show Me Your Movie, which is to build compassion and listening skills, and a boundary exercise on how to say no to your partner in a way that invites more connection instead of less connection.
Beautiful. So go to the shamefreezone.com, click Get It Free here. And I also see you have a relationship IQ test.
Yes, I do.
As a love coach, I'm going to take that, and hopefully I'll do well with it.
I'm sure you will, Scott.
Oh, thank you so much, Veronica. Thank you, Ashlea, for being with us.
Before we close, Scott, can I just say both to Hannah and Ashlea, I received great healing from both of you tonight. It was impressive. I was just vibrating, and I'm so grateful to both of you. Thank you.
Sharing that deep, immense gratitude for what was brought forth from both of you tonight. It was medicine. Thank you, Scott, for bringing this group together. I'm deeply touched.
All three of you are just such earth angels. Thank you for
Thank
and
you.
it's not easy for an earth angel to be on this dense vibration. So
It's a
I
wild
appreciate
ride.
all that you've gone through. Yeah. What, Ashlea?
It's a wild ride down here. in this
Yes, for sure.
experience. And I mean, everything you both shared. Veronica, your shares were amazing. Hannah, even when you first got on the call, I knew what you were tuned into. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Scott, I mean, he's the glue.
Yeah.
Actually, here's the glue right here. This is Benjamin Bear is the glue.
Yes.
Since you were
Yes.
talking about animals, Veronica.
Yes. God spelt backwards.
Absolutely.
All
She's
of
my
us
teacher of love.
Do you notice we're all wearing black?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and my pants are black too.
Well, speaking of synchronicity, Ashlea, on the way over here, on the drive over here, I was in conversation with the other side because my partner just recently passed and we've been talking a lot. And it was transmitted to me that over there, they raised their vibration as a group. And I was like, wow, I wonder how that is. And then you said, we're going to raise our vibration as a group. So just
The
going.
collective, yes.
Yeah. Having
Yeah.
loved and known John, your partner who's passed, can you give us a headline of something that you shared about his experience being on the other side?
I can. I heard very quickly afterwards, 12 hours afterwards, 1,000 voices. So, when you talk about the subpersonalities that we have in this embodied state, it's even more so there. And there's an ability to be in a lot of different locations at once. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
John's
Lots
beautiful.
of love. Lots of love.
Thank you. Dr. Laura just wrote, Veronica, I really feel that truth. The animals, birds, and beings of nature have absolutely raised their vibrations.
Yeah.
They're in 5D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm also going to bring up, since we're kind of about to close with Hannah's song, but I want to bring Dan up one more time, and Desiree, and our beloved Diara. Thank you all for your contributions to tonight's show. I appreciate it so much. And we're going to turn it over to Hannah to close us out.
So much. I love to say that we are weaving remembrance together. The song I wrote during that period of 2020. It's called Humble Like the Jungle. Holy Ghost, I'll make you proud. Yeah, you know I heard you crying out loud. I was born in the belly of the beast, in the middle of the night, in the temple of defeat. Yeah, I am here 'cause you called my name. I know the demon tried to snuff your flame. I'm cold desire, let the fire burn in me, for the elemental nature of my soul is flying free. Yeah, fuck this hell and all the damage done. Mother knows that the war's been won. Now's the time for the healers on the run to steady up the beat and the rhythm of the drum. Meditate, let it all arise. Celebrate every tear in your eyes. You're brave for just being alive, with the monumental weight of forgetting you're divine. I am humble like the jungle. I am bleeding, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am healing, can you feel me? Ooh, oh, oh, oh. When you remember that you chose your life, there's no need for you to run and hide. I'm sick and tired of the shame and deceit and the fear of never knowing when the mission is complete. Yeah, there's a presence trying to steal your mind. Air your shadows out into the light. Choose to love and you will heal in time, or let the fear of the unknown consume to swallow your life. I am humble like the jungle. I am bleeding, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am healing, can you feel me? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I am a never-ending song of the morning star. The situation's rearranging all that you think you are. I'll ride the wind like fever across the great divide. I'll return when you call my name, for my love's not afraid to die. I am humble like the jungle. I am bleeding, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am healing, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am healing, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am healing, can you feel me? Holy Ghost, I'll make you proud. Yeah, you know I heard you crying out loud. I was born in the belly of the beast, in the middle of the night, in the temple of defeat. Yeah, I am here 'cause you called my name. I know the demon tried to snuff your flame. I'm cold desire, let the fire burn in me, for the elemental nature of my soul is flying free. Bless this hell and all the damage done. Mother knows that the war's been won. Now's the time for the healers on the run to steady up the beat and the rhythm of the drum. Meditate, let it all arise. Celebrate every tear in your eyes. You're brave for just being alive, with the monumental weight of forgetting you're divine. Yeah, I am humble like the jungle. I am bleeding, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am healing, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am bleeding, can you feel me? I am humble like the jungle. I am healing, can you feel me? Ooh, 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 ooh. Hi, 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 hi. Ooh, 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 ooh. Hi, 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 hi.
I know what song we're all going to have in our head for the rest of the night. It's such a beautiful theme and rhythm. And thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much.
So much love to you all. Thank you.
One last announcement, our upcoming show on Saturday night. So how many of you have been tracking what's happening with the 3-eye atlas? Is it a comet? Is it extraterrestrial? Is it a sign from the heavens? And also the boogosphere. How many of you know about the boogosphere, this incredible object that has been found and is being studied and that is clearly quite unique? Well, on Saturday Night Show, we're going to be hearing from a lot of people that I really respect about exactly these things, these amazing elements that are coming into our world. What do they mean? And there's a certain amount of hype, there's a certain amount of hope, a certain amount of mystery. And so we're going to be talking about that on Saturday night. And actually, as an example, something that Hannah brought up to me that I didn't know about, which is another really fascinating thing that's going on. So I'm going to actually bring Hannah up one more time to share a little bit about, and I'm going to bring up a picture at the same time as well for her to share about this, another kind of interesting phenomenon that is taking place in our world right now. So let me bring you back up, Hannah. And here is the picture. So tell us a little bit about this miraculous being, this wonderful creature that has showed up on our planet at this time.
So take a moment to behold the beauty and the sacred presence of this being. This animal was photographed for the first time just 3 days ago in Spain, and it is called the white Iberian lynx. Not only was the Iberian lynx thought to be extinct 20 years ago, but there has never been record of a white Iberian lynx. and its presence feels like a threshold omen. And when I saw this being, which was yesterday online, I want to share that the day before I had received a message from a rabbit on my walk in Roy's Redwoods. This rabbit stood right in the middle of the trail, and it told me the time of purification on earth has come. The time of purification has arrived. And I want to just share one more connection with you all tonight, because in that very pivotal year of 2020, and I know we're sensitive to timing, but I am feeling to bring that forth, Scott, to read this prophecy.
Take your time. We're in no rush.
Thank you. During 2020, when the whole globe went into lockdown, I went out into nature. And every day for 6 months during the global lockdown, I saw a full rainbow around the sun.
Wow.
A full rainbow around the sun. And this rainbow spoke to me, sharing, do not go into the fear that the human collective is experiencing. There is greater harmony unfolding in the higher planes. Trust, trust. And it was a huge practice to stay in that state of trust. This was a big period of initiation for me personally, as I know many other light workers. But I couldn't think of a more positive omen. A rainbow around the sun. It was so beautiful, and I looked it up online. What is this rainbow around the sun? And I encountered the whirling rainbow prophecy, which I'm going to read for you tonight, because it speaks to this white Iberian lynx from my perspective. I want to honor the cultural sensitivity of this prophecy. There are said to be different rainbow prophecies in different First Nations traditions, including the Cree and the Hopi and the Navajo. And this one, there's some inconclusive evidence of where it came from, if it is originated in those, or if there were two Christian men in the 60s. So I say this to just account for the fact that I don't know the full story, but what I know is this prophecy spoke to me when I was seeing these rainbows around the sun, which I continue to see in auspicious moments of my life. I'm going to read it to you now. There will come a day when people of all races, colors, and creeds will put aside their differences. They will come together in love, joining hands in unification to heal the earth and all her children. They will move over the earth like a great whirling rainbow, bringing peace, understanding, and healing everywhere they go. Many creatures thought to be extinct or mythical will resurface at this time. The great trees that perished will return almost overnight. All living things will flourish, drawing sustenance from the breast of our mother, the earth. The great spiritual teachers who walked the earth and taught the basics of the truths of the whirling rainbow prophecy will return and walk amongst us once more, sharing their power and understanding with all. We will learn how to see and hear in a sacred manner. Men and women will be equals in the way Creator intended them to be. All children will be safe anywhere they want to go. Elders will be respected and valued for their contributions to life. Their wisdom will be sought out. The whole human race will be called the people, and there will be no more war, sickness, or hunger forever. We are living in an
That
age of
vision.
prophecy.
Let's hold that vision. That is the awakening world. That is what all of the different people we see on the show, Tangela, whose birthday it is today, by the way, Soul Search, all the people that we bring on to this show, in their own way of bringing in their peace. And each and every one of you watching right now, you're all playing your part, you're all playing your role as we do create this awakening world, this new life. Hannah, thank you so much for sharing with us. And I'm going to bring up the picture one more time of this beautiful being. Doesn't it look like it's like a combination of a Pleiadian cat is what I see. Clearly from another, a unique species. And I love that vision. I've always had the fantasy that in my lifetime, there'll be the return of the unicorn. The unicorns will return. So thank you, Hannah, for sharing that. One more time, I'm going to bring up all of our presenters that are still with us. Thank you so much, everybody, for your beautiful contributions tonight. Good night, Global Peace Tribers. I hope to see you Friday for the program that we do with Dan Drayson. And again on Saturday night here in the Zoom room. Take care, everybody. Have a great couple of days. We'll see you soon.